Hey everybody, it's PartyElite here with another online battle today, taking a rather savage greenskin army against the Dark Elves of Mr. Zero. We begin of course with talk of composition and deployment, and as I said, I've got a rather savage force. Wurzag is in charge. The front line consists of 4 units of savage orcs, and then on either flank we have 2 units of Savage Orc Biggins each. These guys are there for their anti-large capabilities. Then back here we also have the Hammer of Gork, hoping to get some damage in right from the get-go, while to the side over here we've got 2 units of Orc Boarboy Biggins, acting as a sort of shielding force against any enemy large units that might come in from the flanks or from the rear, as they are armor-piercing and anti-large as well. Now just over the cusp of this hill over here, I've Vanguard deployed a couple of skirmishers, hoping to get some vision for my artillery piece, trying to get some damage in as quickly as possible, but also they are skirmishers, so hoping to get some damage in nice and early from these guys as well. I've got Mogreb's Mangy Marauders with their armor-piercing arrows, and I also have 3 units of Forest Goblin Spider Riders, hoping to use their poison to slow down enemy approaches and get my artillery some more time. Unfortunately, the Dark Elves have deployed across the field for me, so I'm not actually able to open shots off. Now their deployment has broken because of their move order, but let's take a look at the army. MORATHI is in charge up in the air, and she does have a Black Dragon with her. We've got 3 units of Dread Spears. They will be able to hold the line, allowing the Black Dragon to come in for rear charges, and of course they will also provide some anti-large capabilities. And then we've got these Black Ark Corsairs. They were on either flank, and they are capable anti-infantry units, alongside these Witch Elves as well, who are anti-infantry. They have the Madness of Cain, or the ability to inflict Madness of Cain, I should say, taking control away from my units. Then in the middle here, we also have the Blackguard of Nagorond, anti-large and armor-piercing. Well, all the way up front over here, we have 2 units of Shades with great swords. They're able to cause some armor-piercing damage from range, and they also can jump into melee, provide that anti-infantry armor-piercing support. So let's take a look at how this all breaks down. An interesting composition from the Dark Elves over there. I think suspecting that I would come in with some Black Orcs. That's why all of this armor-piercing capability is present on the field, but of course I like to bring in some Savage Orcs for that physical resistance and the surprise factor. You can see over here I've got my skirmishers pushing in, hoping to get some shots into the backs of all of these Dark Elves, as their shields are of course not facing their backs. These silver shields are going to be completely useless on these Dread Spears, so just hoping to get some damage done on the Blackguard of Nagorond as well. Whatever threatening units I might be able to focus in on. You can see I focus first on the Black Ark Corsairs, and as that Black Dragon is pushing in towards me, I do have to focus in on that instead, and I notice the spell or the ability being used there to pop its breath, and unfortunately I have skirmish mode on, so I don't have perfect control over these units over here, but I do manage to just barely dodge that breath damage coming through, take a touch of damage on some of these Forest Goblin Spider Riders as well as Mogreb's Mangy Marauders, but I continue to pull back with skirmish mode on, getting some shots in here and there, while you can see MORATHI is creeping in to try and get some magical support, and all the while my army has in fact pivoted, and you can see again MORATHI just trying to use over here some magic, pops the Pit of Shades as I try to get away. Unfortunately, again, skirmish mode, getting these guys to clump up, and she actually managed to get a fair bit of damage in to the Forest Goblin Spider Rider archer unit over here. These guys do get stuck in, but it looks like they're not taking too much damage. Maybe just a couple of guys stuck in there, and the rest of the unit actually far away. I'm not sure what's going on over there. Yeah, just 5 of them were stuck in there. But again, not to be deterred by damage, I turn back around and focus in on this Black Dragon again. I want it to chase me. I want it to come all the way back here, because you can see I've got my Orc Boarboy Biggins here pushing forward as well. They are, again, armor-piercing and anti-large, so I'd like that Black Dragon to give chase and get stuck in that situation. While you can see over here, these Shades have actually turned around alongside the Blackguard of Nagorond, and they're giving chase as well, hoping to get some damage in, popping some shots, and they actually got some hurt done to my Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archer, so good call over there. You can see the Black Dragon here just drops down, tries to get a nice charge in there. I think maybe does a little bit of damage to this unit over here, but I just continue firing away, get some of that poison damage in, while now the Dark Elves are creeping towards the rest of my army. You can see the Hammer of Gork is promptly responding by opening shots off. So this is more or less working to plan over here for me. Unfortunately for the Dark Elves, they've decided to split their army in 2, and it's just not a good call. I understand wanting to take care of everything, but unfortunately they would have been a lot better to actually stay concentrated. So as the Hammer of Gork fires away, I think focusing in wherever I can find a nice massive clump, I try to hit some of these Witch Elves primarily, try to take care of their very threatening capabilities, of course, early on, and you can see we've got these Orc Boarboy Biggins just waiting for that Black Dragon to land somewhere so I can get some damage on the Shades, as well as the Blackguard of Nagorond as well, closing the gaps over here, and the Orc Boarboy Biggins, of course, will not have a good time against the Blackguard of Nagorond, so I do have to be wary about that. You can see, again, pushing in, opening fire at the Black Dragon, dropping its morale significantly. It's at about a quarter health over here, so things are working out for me on this left situation, if I can call it that, and you can see, though, the Shades here very quickly returning fire and causing a fair bit of hurt as well here and there, so good call trying to take care of my skirmishers as I focus in on something else, but unfortunately I am getting the better deal over here. A great use of breath there, though. You can see the Forest Goblin Spider Rider archers just completely fell apart, dropped them to about a quarter health. Their morale has dropped significantly as well, so would have been a good idea to keep a distance until that breath ability was available again, but not the worst call there. Unfortunately, that breath attack could be used in some better places, such as some of these physically resistant savage orcs. So as that continues over there, you can see over here, I'm in position, I'm getting ready for these charges, and you can see Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma goes down on the savage orcs over here, just trying to get a little bit of damage in, avoiding putting that Pit of Shades down for some reason, and as these charges go through, you can see these spears over here make a wonderful clump. And I've got Wurzag on the field, so you know exactly what's about to come. While off to the side over here, you can see we've got the Black Dragon still eating a lot of shots. And over here to the right, I've got Fists of Gork going down on these Savage Orcs. Now, these Savage Orcs are up against 2 units of Black Ark Corsairs. These guys are anti-infantry. They can do a lot of work, so I want to make sure that the melee defense on these are higher, because that melee defense means they're going to stick around for a little bit longer. And meanwhile, as these Dread Spears poke and prod away at some of my Savage Orcs, none too successfully, I might say so, myself, in comes the Foot of Gork and does a significant amount of damage. Wurzag's kill count rockets up right away as those 3 units just absolutely get devastated. Their health drops, their morale drops significantly. Wurzag, I think, gets 66 kills or so just from that 1 Foot of Gork, and of course that left flank is instantaneously mine. Over here, meanwhile, you can see the Black Dragon decided to dive into the Savage Orc Biggins, and the Savage Orc Biggins are going to make very quick work of the Black Dragon over there. They are, again, anti-large, not significantly so, but just enough to make a difference as all those guys are firing in as well. Meanwhile, you can see over here, as those Dread Spears are giving up, Morathi tries to move in to provide some support, but I pop Effigy of the Git, and over here as well, you can see I've got the Savage Orc Biggins pushing in for a rear charge to get some morale damage in on these Black Ark Corsairs. The Black Dragon, meanwhile, has given up on the fight. I am trying to get it to completely shatter or die, however. Well, over here, you can see some more magical support from Morathi, popping the one and only Soul Stealer here, trying to get some damage in, and of course, keep herself in full health as well. So great call over there, as these Witch Elves are actually getting my Savage Orcs to get stuck in combat. So again, very threatening, those Witch Elves with their ability to inflict the madness of Cain. Back here, though, you can see the Black Dragon has been completely taken care of, so I disengage as it has been shattered, and you can see now I am pushing in to try and engage some of these Shades with their great swords with some of my cavalry. Now, unfortunately, the Orc Boar Boy Biggins will actually not have the best of times against these Shades with great swords if they stay stuck in melee, especially when Murderous Prowess is active, as it is right now. So I have to be very quick with these engagements, and unfortunately, I'm a little distracted in the center situation over here. As you can see, these Witch Elves are coming out on top against some of these Savage Orcs, and that's obviously not an ideal situation for myself as Morathi as well, looking for an opportunity to get involved. She is, again, anti-large as well as armor-piercing, so she can cause some damage, and you can see these Orc Boar Boy Biggins were just not having a good time. They had to fall back. They took about 50% damage to their health, and even these Orc Boar Boy Biggins, as they're charging through, you can see they're just not having the best of charges. Their health is dropping significantly as well, so not an ideal situation, and the Blackguard of Naggaron are right there as well, so of course, not a good spot for me to be in. Over here, meanwhile, you can see I am trying to get some support into these Savage Orcs, trying to keep these guys alive and fighting, popping the Fists of Gork once more, hoping to get rid of these Witch Elves over here, as they are causing a fair bit of trouble for me. As you can see, these Dread Spears as well decide to turn around and chase after these Orc Boar Boy Biggins, and that's a good call. The Dread Spears have absolutely no business being involved in this situation over here, instead peeling them over here. Now, Morathi has made a bit of a mistake going here close to all of my skirmishing units. They are firing away. She's trying to dive in and get some damage in. She's popped Deadly Onslaught. Good call. That charge bonus buff is going to help cause a fair bit of damage, potentially scare these guys off, but there's a much better place for her to be, and that is over here in the Hammer of Gork. Just shut down that artillery as it continues to provide some support for me, and you can see Morathi gets completely surrounded. I want to hold her in place. This is an ideal situation for me. I've got these Savage Orc Biggins right here. I've got the Orc Boar Boy Biggins as well, now peeling around to get a charge into Morathi if possible, just to eliminate her, remove her from the field, and drop Dark Elf leadership. And you can see over here as well, I am coming out on top as these Black Ark Corsairs finally give up on the fight. The Witch Elves as well, very low on health. Very soon they might drop and give up on the fight. While over here you can see these Dread Spears are trying to hold my Savage Orcs in place. Good call there. They're not going to last very long, but they have a decent melee defense, trying to prevent these Savage Orcs from pushing in and actually shutting down these Shades. So that's a great call over there, I would say. But you can see Morathi here is in a terrible spot, though she is causing some damage to these Orc Boar Boy Biggins. She's also getting beat by these Savage Orc Biggins, and let's be completely honest, she's probably enjoying it. However, my opponent is probably not. She's in a very precarious situation. Her health is at 50%. Her morale is at 50%. We've got these Dread Spears pushing in to try and provide some support, but it's just not enough. These Savage Orc Biggins, rather, I should say, are getting some work done as well, while over here the Orc Boar Boy Biggins get Fists of Gork activated as well, buffing their melee attack, trying to quickly take care of Morathi. Over here, meanwhile, you can see The last of the Witch Elves have given up on the fight as well. Despite getting my Savage Orcs to rampage, I don't really mind because that's the ideal engagement for them anyway, and you can see over here, MORATHI has given up on the fight, the Shades have given up on the fight, or they're at least close to giving up on the fight. Shatters across the field, and the battle is mine. There's nothing quite like taking that physical resistance of the Savage Orcs to the field every once in a while. It was evident that my opponent had a plan at the start of the battle, but unfortunately, they decided to ignore that plan when my ranged cavalry provided a distraction. The Dragon's Breath and Pit of Shades had better places to be. Magical damage against Savage Orcs is paramount. Unfortunately, I think my opponent couldn't stay focused at the task on hand because of the harassment to his flanks. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content. Online battles and Total Breakdown will bring you a constant flow of tactical analysis and advice. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to meeting you on the battlefield.